Hello. Alright, I want to see if I can take a stab at objective morality from the position of oughtness. There's a sense in which I have absolutely no problem with objective morality, in the sense that you can start with certain presuppositions, such as, thriving, do not cause harm, these kind of ideas, assuming that that's the best thing for humanity and therefore the best thing for the state of the universe. I'll go ahead and say it. There seems to be a preconceived notion that since humanity wants to thrive, or at least we could say something like, it's really hard to get to this mindset, which is why moral philosophers or objective philosophers have such a hard time, and moral philosophers for that matter. But you have to be able to get to a position where you are properly defining something like causing no harm, or thriving is not the word they usually use, but thriving is the word that comes to mind, and you can stick in Sam Harris or Daniel Danitz or whoever's term instead if you want. So you have to be able to cut very finely between cultures into a kind of common culture, or a commonly derived culture, and then say, yeah, once you're in this commonly derived culture, this humanism, if you will, then you can make statements about objective morality, about how people want to thrive, or ought to want to thrive. Dang it. And so let's talk about what ought is then. Ought, so far as I can tell, is something like the summation of an individual, maybe a group, but more, a group can definitely have an ought. So yeah, an individual group, but a group mindset is based in the individual. There is no group except for that which is allowed to emerge by the individuals of that group. If they buck against, to the degree individuals buck against the group, there is no group. Got distracted by motorcycle cops. All right, so groups, individual oughtness. So far as I can tell, oughtness is values, meaning your principles, goals, meaning the specific things you want to achieve based off of those values, and plans, meaning that way in which you've decided to achieve your goals. So it is values, goals, and plans. Those are all arranged on levels of abstraction. And those are your oughts, with the caveat that there is always a possibility that other values, plans, and goals, or your own limits in other ways, your resource limitations or other limitations, with the caveat that those won't get in the way. So let me try to say that again really quickly. Oughtness comes from an individual's values, plans, and goals, with the caveat that other plans, values, and goals might get in the way. Okay? In other words, you're not saying much when you talk about ought. You're speaking of preference. No matter how you cut it, anytime you get to that ought, and you will, it seems to be the case that we always, anytime we try to make an objective morality, we always have to boil down to an ought somewhere in the equation. Either you say it explicitly, or you don't say it explicitly, and somebody goes, but wait a minute, your syllogism is lacking this statement. And then you will have to say something like, oh, but everybody knows that. But then it's like, no, it's never like that. Because there's always that caveat that other values, plans, and goals might get in the way. A person who ought to be honest, for instance, might say, nah, screw it. I'm not gonna be honest this point. So, okay, setting all that aside, I think I've made the best argument I can for that, although I could keep talking about it over and over again. So what does objective morality get you? Objective morality appears to get you a framework that might work when people actually follow it. That's what it appears to get you. And that's good, so far as that is. I mean, I'm glad we got the framework. The framework's good. The framework's helpful. You could, I suppose, then maximize your social structure such that people will want to fulfill that. So you could game people. You could set structures in place that reward them, that reward their, not just their plans. Oh, you've achieved this. You get an achievement. Not only your plans, but you would almost also have to try to reward them for goals and values, which becomes really iffy or sketchy, because it's like you are... How do you actually know that that's their values and goals? It becomes, you become the thing that they game in that case. It always is the case, in fact, that people can game you. Whether, you know, they can fulfill plans just for the reward that you have given them in order to game them. So this is the question. How do you get a good heart? How do you get a heart that is faithful to the moral code, whatever your objective morality that you've decided? What's great about objective morality is generally when the people who formulate objective morality do, I really like this humanism thing. I like this structure. The problem is we are not in our hearts humanists, or at least there is always the potential for us to be like, I'm not gonna do it for whatever reason. That is an open potential in the human condition. It cannot be closed off. Whatever method you use can be gamed. This is why, there's a community of people I'm discussing things with that call themselves Game B. Game A is kind of this self-centered approach to life. Game B is attempting to be, I consider it virtuous, everyone-centric, everyone benefiting. My brain is not coming up with the right terms. I apologize. You might have noticed that I have that problem. Anyway. So, objective morality. Thumbs up. It gets a thumbs up because it's a good idea. As the final solution, thumbs down. It can't be the final solution because it cannot solve the problem of the heart. I don't know how objective moralists, moral realists, how atheists can be as honorable and faithful as they often are. But I don't argue that they are, or at least they appear to be. They may have slave girls in their basement. That's so horrible to say. I'm sorry. But they don't appear to. Okay, my daughter is cheering my arrival home, so bye.